Hello again, welcome back. I missed you, I really did. It's lovely to have you back here. Now then, what I'm going to do is hide this, and I'm going to use this as a base plate for where I want the thing to reach, rather than building it off this. And I just want to look at this, because this part here is too high up. It needs to be brought down. Just in line with the rest of it. There. Slightly better. Now I can work again from this. Now there's a couple of ways I can do this actually. One of them is just to really duplicate what I've got over here. So let's see what I can do. Shrink. It's actually quite a clever design, you see, this thing when it comes down to it. It's these two parts, just repeated. Okay, so I'm going to shift this 90 degrees. Incidentally, that's what most 3D modeling is. Blatant cheating. Oh yeah. And Zap Brannigan impersonations, obviously. Now I'm going to get rid of all these parts here. Because what I can do then is just literally bolt these two parts here together. Or even just make it into a sliding attachment if I absolutely have to. Okay, now top viewport. What I'm going to do is just clean this up a little bit. So let me see. I could do a slice plane, I suppose. For that to work, I need to select all those. Get my slice plane tool, which I rarely use, but it is massively efficient. Bring it to round about there, and just click slice, and turn it off. And then just get rid of all these leftover parts that are now useless. And ta-da, as they say. Now then over here, I'm going to do a bit more tying up work. Good thing is, I suppose, that you can go, oh no, this is a Generation 1 TIE Fighter, if you start getting things wrong, or, you know, this is a Beta TIE Fighter from... Just make something up. The only people who are actually going to notice or care will be rabid Star Wars fans. Unfortunately, there's an awful lot of those in the 3D industry, however. We all have our crosses to bear, I suppose. That's right about there. Now, the thing is, if I move this forward, which I just have, obviously, the choice is either to inset that into there, but if I do, I've got to move that vert, or I'll do both sides together because it's fun. I can move that to about there. Then just scale them in this way. And if I do that, I don't have to repair this part. Because it still works. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah? Yeah. Good. Although what this does mean is I need to steal these parts here. So I'll just flip them 180. And then without holding shift, just 90. And then just flap them into place just down here. Like so. Now, if I attach these two parts together, and I may as well, to be honest, I can then move this one into here. And this one here. Like so. Okay, let's check these shapes out. Dem's some good shapes. Now then, delete that and go down here. Now, obviously this is an open shape, so what I'm going to do is grab here, go to my correct tool, scale, there we are. Just going to bring that in like that, and then like that. Okay, and this will allow me to do a bit more building that I need to do. Use Alt to deselect. I didn't like that method at first, where you have to use one key to group select and one key to group deselect. However, I actually really rather like it now. So, go figure. How many polygons this will be when I finish? I haven't actually set myself a target, considering this is more of a kind of let's have fun modelling stuff set. Okay, now over here, let's go straight into build mode. I could just use, modelling mode, but I just prefer doing things this way. I mean, extrude mode rather. Because it gives me slightly more control to be able to do things like that. You want a very small extrude there. There we go. That gives me those shapes, which as you can see are kind of overhanging there, which is what I wanted. Okay, now back over to here. Take these parts, there and there. Now then, what I can do here, just for some pure variance as much as anything, is go across there and do a connect. I'll do it on both sides, in fact. Now it should connect in the middle. There we go, it did. Like so. Now then, depending on how straight these edges are, this will either work or not work even remotely. So let's find out, shall we? And I'm going to use maybe 6 segments. Yeah, not especially straight. But that's okay, we can get around that too. So delete these back ones off. Oops, deleted them all because I didn't click tick, because my caddy had wandered off. Alright, now target welds. Intriguingly, this one seems to be a lot more straight than the other one does. Or does it? Haha, no. Oh, dearie me. Oh, you. Never mind. Let's just undo that part altogether, shall we? In that case, we'll just use a simpler method of doing this. I'll leave those there anyway. Cylinder, just use the standard poly on poly method. Drag out. Let me have a look. It's too many polygons there, so bring that down to about 8. Well, 90 and then 90, not 180 rather. An awful lot of busy stuff tends to go on in these models anyway. There we go. Now then. Grab these and just shift it back again to there. And don't be put off by complexity, like I say. These things are here just to make us better artists rather than to interfere with the fun you're having. So I'm just again looking at this shape, just bring it up a bit like that. Just there. Now that I need to clean up some of these edges, because we don't need all of them. Get rid of those ones. And these ones. Start straightening pieces in. Moving to the point now where we're going to need the wing. See what I mean? Becomes kind of important at this point. Because now we can see how this part is going to fit onto this part. And if these bits are too long, which at the minute they are, then we need to adjust them. Like so. Alright, now then. The part goes there and there. And let's look over here at this part, which I'm going to chamfer to give me that shape. I'm not sure that shape's actually going to work for what I want. Especially when I'm being stupid and can just delete these parts. Thought so. Target weld these into here. Eventually. It seems to be becoming a longer and longer process to target weld this into here. That's better. Right, we've still got these kind of bat ears going on. Wrong way. The whole idea of this tutorial is really that I want you guys to have a solid grounding in how we're going to make something like this, and then hopefully you're going to go off and make one yourselves, and hopefully as well make better than the one I'm doing. That's kind of the dream anyway. Yeah, that should do. These parts here, I don't like. It's funny, I spent all that time making them and I hate them now. I want to make ones that are much better suited when it's time. Now then, this goes through and out the other side of the wing, basically. So, move the wing over here until it's time to attach it to what we're building. That's the strut that's going to go up the middle just there, you see. Okay. Now then. I really need to close my email client. Now then. Let's check that. Probably could do with being a teeny bit wider, but such is life. There we go. And starting to injure my brain actually looking at this thing, which is always a worrying concept. Inset. And then a teeny extrude. So that I can do that. And then that. Which in turn will allow me to do these. Notice I'm using a cylinder rather than using a tube. I always tend to prefer to use cylinders in this kind of instance. Okay, let's increase its radius. Okay, that should do. Thing is, you've got a lot more control over one of these than you have with a tube. There we are. God, I wish I had some more kippers left. I love kippers. So nice. Right. I believe these are the targeting things. So, go figure. Now at the bottom here. See how things come together now, even though we threw them together originally as just a rough scaffold so we could get our shapes and things. You'll notice that now that things are starting to come together, we're getting much more complex shapes that we're building separate to the scaffold. I always think that part of a good scaffold really is just to give you the impetus to carry on with your model, because it's all too easy just to start doing little bits of it and then think, oh, I'm getting nowhere. Why am I even doing this? I'm going to become a car park attendant. You know, just like, maybe I'm being a bit facetious, but it's true. Not that you're going to become a car park attendant, but you know what I mean. That goes there. Starting to see how this goes together now. I hope you are anyway. That bit embeds in there. Now let's start looking at making this wing a bit narrower. There we are. Gives me a chance to work on deleting these edged faces here. Edged faces? What am I talking about? These borders, these bits of polygon. These bits. You know what I mean. So, I'm going to press Alt to deselect the bits I don't want wiped out. Alt and click. And that leaves us these parts, which I most assuredly do want. Start off with a bridge here. And then that should make bridging this part a teeny weeny bit easier. Like so. Alright, I'm going to add these into it. Bring back. And now this gives me a chance to start working on the actual shape of parts to build. So I can delete those. And those. Now we can see that these are essentially in the right place. So all I need to do really is straighten them up. Alright. Go in there and there. And insert. Now everything I do, you know, unless I'm making mad mistakes, I'm doing for a specific reason. So this is a patch or a panel patch. Now later on, if you are to come back and hyper detail your model, you'll come back here and you'll add all sorts of gubbins and things, as my old mate Squid used to say. But until that time, we'll leave it as it is. Now then, I need to bring panels on this, so I'm going to use my Swift loop. Gotta love the way you can preview a Swift loop. There. Now I can select it using this. I'm going to chamfer it a bit wide. Before I do though, I should probably select the other wing parts that I'm going to be using at the same time, because there's a few of them. So what I'm going to do is work on an inset value, and I think before I do that I should probably, about you can probably see what's going on here, do some minor fixing to this as well. There we are. Because we have to repair our model, obviously. Otherwise it ain't gonna work, as they say. Okay, now same again down here. Just repairing the mess that's been left behind from all this fiddle-faddling, as they say. There we are. Now, just to make sure that I haven't done awful things to it. I shouldn't have done that. No, that is fine. Okay. So again, what I want to do is work on my insets that I'm going to be using. So that's an inset there, and let's set that value correctly. Now then, I'm going to be careful down here in particular at our end pieces. I'm going to take off that piece. On the inside, it's yeah, it's just that piece and that piece there, and that piece and that piece there, and then half of this piece at the back here because it kind of breaks down into smaller panels. So I think it's going to be in my best interests to break this down into its smaller panels first. I'll just isolate this part while I'm doing it. So a quick connect straight across the middle there. No, that's not the middle, is it? Alright, and now I can inset and then just get those values correct the first time. Just checking these again. Just going to ensure it's making a big enough space where it needs to. Then again, I can manually move them, so that's not really an issue. Tick. Turn inset back on again. I'll do those separately in just a moment. Okay. There's basically loads of kind of greebles, basically just greebles galore here. Presumably control surfaces and things like that, which I think is probably a mistake from a sheer ergonomic point of view if you think about it. However, I'm not going to fight with the Lucas fanboys, otherwise I'll lose and they'll come to my house, and we don't want that. Okay, so I don't know why I've got bloody Bon Jovi going round and round in my head at the minute, which is not great. I mean, sure, if you like Bon Jovi, that's cool, but I blame the game Rock Band. I haven't even played that for ages. For some reason, I can picture the drum track. Ugh, it's awful. Right. So we've got our panels here, which is basically just containing a kind of crisscrossing thing. I'm not going to go mad and put trillions of polygons in, though, to emulate this crisscrossing thing. So what I'm going to do instead is just go into bevel mode. And now here, see these? These are a problem for me. I've got to be very, very careful with these edge pieces. Now I can either blend them down into one, which I think I'm going to have to, or pretend they don't exist, which is a very, very bad idea. I can collapse them into just one point, however, as you see. I remember I was discussing once with John back when he was in England, and he was telling me about how phenomenally complicated the collapse tool actually is, if you think about it from a mathematical standpoint. Apparently it's just like insanely complex. Bearing in mind John was, a maths and 3D whiz who put me to shame, but if he says it, then it was probably true. Bevel. And I suppose thinking about it, I mean, once you've got a selection of complicated ones, it's having to do quite a lot of complicated calculations to decide where it's going to collapse in how, isn't it? Alright. X isolation mode again. Did that fit in place? Nearly. Nearly. Well, that's okay, we can fix that then. Okay. Now then, over here, let's go into this part. Ring. Do a connect. I'm going to chamfer this wide. Now then, this actually comes in at the apex of this part here, which means I either have to move this further this way than what I said about the joy of rapid prototyping, or just make some other modifications to it. Let's have a look. I don't want too much space at the front. Although there should be a bit, so I think in actuality I'm going to have to move some of these corners here. See how far back we can go. Far enough, people, far enough. Excellent. That means I can bring these back to around there where they need to be. And then drop back into this again. Down in there like that. And then down. There we go. Oh, thank God, I did unpause. I had this sudden vision that I was going to look at my pauseometer and it was going to tell me sad things that would make me a very sad panda. Pardon me. Okay, that seems fine. Next. Basically what I'm going to do now is go here, where this part is, and I'm going to use this to create the struts. Because that's what it's for anyway. Go on the other side too. So we can get the height of the strut from that. Like so. Now then, I'm not sure if I can drag out an edge here. Ah, good, I can. That's going to make things a lot easier here. So what I'm going to do is drag that out. And this is just temporary. Temporary? Yes. Because then I can do an inset on this, like so. And then delete these parts. And I'm still left with this nice part here. You get where I'm coming from? Oh yeah. So, I'm going to extrude this until I get there. Okay, now, if I twist it, you'll notice I lose some definition here, so it's easier. Bringing that back there. Now I'm going to need to cut there to there. Okay. Next, do it just a random extrude, because I'm just going to pull this up. Actually, no, not like that, without holding shift. I'm going to pull this up until we get the intersection point just there. Okay. Now, as you can see, this isn't going in the right direction yet. Now it is. That works for me. Grab these two parts and just bring them in a bit. I mean, there's tons and tons of wires and cables and all sorts of crap you can run down the inside of your damn TIE fighter, but I'm not here for the entire month working on this project. I'm here showing you how to do it now. And that's what you're going to do, work on it now. Nonetheless, I can show you how to make some damn cool things, so that's alright. Just for God's sakes, don't go posting on the Force or Sci-Fi, sci-fi meshes.net until you're sure you've made a good model. Even I'm frightened of posting on there. I'm a tutorial author. I know I'm, a fairly good artist, but my God, those guys, they've got some talented dudes on there. Okay, let's grow that. Should bring it down all the way to here. Grow it again. And this means now I can detach it. Now, obviously, it's facing in the wrong direction, which is a bit of a pain. So I'm going to detach it just as a clone. And then with my clone here, once I've selected it, I'm going to mirror it. Then I can choose which axis I want it on, which is that one. Once I've mirrored it, I'm also going to go down to my utilities panel and reset it, and so it turns itself inside out. Convert it to an editable poly. Select it all and flip it. You'll be glad that you did. It makes things a lot easier. Okay. Now this one. If you want to attach the two back together again, you just got to go in here and basically deselect these parts. That's if you want to. You don't have to. You don't feel it's 100% necessary if you don't want to. Okay, and that gives us this shape here. Now, what I'd like to do is basically attach these parts together, the parts that make up this part of the wing. You notice there's two. There's the inner wing and the outer wing, and how they kind of fit to each other. So those are now part of this. I'm not going to attach this yet because I need to copy it. But I'm going to attach those fins to it. Alright, and with the fins attached, could probably do with bringing this shape down a bit more. Oh, it'll be fine. Now then, I'm going to just make sure I've got everything selected that needs to be selected. What's this? That's the old piece, isn't it? Shall we have a look at it? See how it compares now. See, fundamentally it's similar, but we don't need the scaffold anymore. Now all I need to do really is just grab these parts and just use this. Stuff it on the side. Okay, and that looks much better now that we're coming to the end of part 3 on how to rough out this piece. Okay, so I'll see you in the next part.